we start with Tesla and Musk. I think you've articulated that you don't have exposure across the ETFs, particularly to Tesla. Is that because of the role Musk plays or other things?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. No, that's not really Defiance specific. Our ETFs are in the quantum computing space, right? And 6G, which is the next gen of communication, really. So it's just that we don't happen to, track the space or that particular product within those funds. But that being said, I think that if there were an opportunity to hold Tesla, it's not something that we would necessarily be opposed to, right? I think that a lot of what's happening now is noise around politics, and there is some potential downside if this tax bill removes $7,500 worth of credit. I mean, that subsidies affect sales in the long run. They rarely go unscathed if passed, but. That aside, I mean, Elon Musk is still Elon Musk, and, the genius of robo-taxis and driverless cars, in-home robots, which one day could be a staple in all of our homes. I don't count the company or the CEO out, regardless of this feud.
So do you not even bake in as a potential ire of, you've got plenty of leveraged ETFs, for example, on single names, and whether or not eventually you'd want to be giving that sort of volatile exposure to your own client base, Sylvia. Would you ever hypothesize that such a leader in technology could be asked to leave the country even? That seems to be what's being implied by the president.
That seems to be what's being implied, and there are levered Tesla ETFs out there, and they're quite popular and are seeing steady AUM growth, and that's just a consequence of first movers got there. But I can't really comment too much on the citizenship aspect of it, but it is my understanding that Elon Musk is a U.S. citizen, so I'm not sure what how that would go.
Sylvia, when you compose an ETF,
Yes.
is key man risk and the leadership of any given name part of the consideration?
Yeah, so that can always be a factor in terms of, it depends on the type of ETF that is structured and what it does. So, there have certainly been products in the market before where people are looking at, specific leaders and basing ETFs off of the types of CEOs that they want to invest in. Sometimes that's been in the ESG space, sometimes that's been around DEI factors, other times it's been around, kind of the tech lords and things like this. And so that's certainly a factor that can play in. But I think most of the time, like when you're thinking about thematic ETFs, for example, you're thinking about a theme, and then you try to build in the products that actually fit that theme. So quantum stocks, for example, right? You're not thinking so much about the CEO, but more about the company itself and what it does.